Great to see you guys, and welcome to the podcast. And we're super excited to have our guest Josh Evans here with us from Evans Performance. And Josh is, one of the top trainers and coaches in Bali, but all the way from the UK. Josh, it's great to see you. How have you been?
Being good, man. Bali's treating me well. Thanks for having me on. I'm hopefully you're gonna have some great questions that I have the answers to. If not, I'll just duck my head.
we expect nothing less. I think you've got like quite an interesting story because obviously you're in Bali now, and you're such a top professional in fitness. But everyone wants to live in Bali or like has aspirations of coming to Bali. So, what was like the catalyst or the drive for you to even make it there? Because I'm sure you thought about going there before you came there. So what was that initial push or that initial drive for you?
Yeah, well, that goes back in time, right? So basically, obviously, COVID happened, and I was sat in it's a job. It's a comfortable job. I worked in the petrochemical industry, and there was a path to work my way up, but I didn't really fancy it. I didn't see the worth in it, and things started to change. So it's like the structure and the standard operating procedures and stuff like this. So like I learned a specific way, and this all started to change, and I disagreed with a lot of it. And so did a lot of other people. But instead of just agreeing and sitting on my hands, I actually decided that that I wanted to change, and I wanted to kind of work for myself and kind of call the shots a bit more. So when I did that, I kind of thought to myself, right, okay, I want to move. I want that freedom to move. I want to find new people, build new relationships, find people who understand things about business, because I was around people who didn't know anything about business, and here's me wanting to set up a business. So I was like, okay, right, this needs to change. So I need to find a new environment, a new circle of people. And from that, obviously, joined some different networks and got some solid advice, found a mentor who could help me build my online fitness business. I went down that route because I have 20 years of knowledge in fitness. It's always been my passion, but I never actually went into it on a deeper level in terms of setting up a business or working as a PT full time, because it never paid well back then. So that's why I never went for it. But I saw the opportunity with a mentor. I just went for it and put some time in, a lot of time in, some hard work. And then as soon as I built the business, I was like, okay, this is my ticket to freedom now. I can actually detach myself from this job that I don't want to be a part of anymore. And that's where I kind of started working without walls and decided to move different locations. So I tried Portugal. Funny enough, was first on the list, and it wasn't a success because everyone was just surfing or drinking. So no one was really interested in like fitness. There was a bit of a language barrier as well, and so I went back to England and tried to figure out where I was going to go next. And then I decided, well, I didn't decide. A friend of mine invited me to a wedding in Bali, and I was like, okay, yeah, why not? I'll try Bali next. And he was just, well, if you come here, you're never going to leave. I was like, we'll see about
that. It was proved right.
Yeah, so I've turned up, and Bali is amazing. Like, there's an abundance of so many things. It's emerging, so everything's trending up, whether it's investments or whether it's health and fitness, gyms, lots of people coming through. And so there's a lot of new relationships being built as well, and everything is just kind of growing exponentially in my life, the things that I wanted. And the ticket to that was just my own freedom to be able to move around.
So I want to ask you about something that you touched on, because people probably like see you and your brand on Instagram and your public persona, and it's very clear that you're good and very proficient like in the area of fitness. But I want to like actually point out something that I noticed from knowing you. for a while now is I actually think that one of your main strengths is more so in your ability to network and like build and provide a lot of value in relationships. And it's interesting to me that you said that. Obviously fitness is your vehicle and the area of your specialty, but talk to us a little bit about how you view networks and networking and relationships, because I think, people probably see you as primarily a fitness, person. And yes, that's part of your area of specialty, but, in your move to Bali, you're essentially describing how networks and relationships have played like a huge part of that. So talk to us a little bit about like your thinking, your mindset, like around that.
Yeah. I mean, there's moments in my life where isolation matters if I want to get things done. But for a huge part of my life, having a network or whatever you want to call it, an organization, or being a part of some sort of structure gives me that accountability. And I love raising the bar, or I love being part of a community or whatever you want to call it that has a high bar or high standard, and meeting that standard, because it only improves myself, and I love to keep adding value to it and raising that bar and pushing people higher who are above. And it's as the spiral upwards in that journey is way more exciting than the spiral down and everyone just dragging each other down. It's something I yearned for a lot when I was a kid, and I didn't have it a lot because obviously my mum passed away when I was a kid, and I didn't do very well in school. My dad was never around. I never had a support structure, and I failed a lot growing up. And until I found like rugby and stuff like that, that whole like coming together in the brotherhood and just wearing your badge with pride and sticking up for each other on the pitch and off the pitch, like that kind of struck home for me. And I wanted more of it, and I've always have wanted more of that. And so I guess, relationship building, adding value, seeing people do well, and everyone else benefiting from someone else doing well, and raising each other up, that to me has always been something that I've yearned for and love being a part of, and I get immense fulfillment out of that.
Yeah. So like, how would you say that, obviously building your online business and, transitioning out of 9 to 5, like, and building your online business and then like taking it to the next level, like while you've been here in Bali, like that's been super exciting to watch and, see that growth. I think like one of the great things that I've seen in you is like, you have this like propensity, this ability to like, it's almost like it's like running through tackles or something, like just move forward, get tackled, keep going. I'm like, this guy doesn't stop, like just like moves forward. So like talk to us a little bit about like, how you see, those things kind of going together, like building wealth, like being, in a network or networking, building relationships and fitness. Like, how do you see them kind of, they actually go together? Because some people might see them as separate things that they have to pursue in isolation, but you've managed to kind of, mold them together and move forward like at speed make progress, quite quickly and quite substantially. So, you obviously have a certain way of looking at it. So talk to us a bit about that.
Yeah. It's all the failures that I've learned from. I guess you can call it wisdom and experience. Many epiphanies along the way. And the biggest one, obviously, going back a few years, I had loads of different things like happen to me, like broken relationships, friend died, nearly lost the job. The athlete journey died off, and that was something that I put a lot of time into. Like I trained like an athlete, I ate like an athlete, slept like one. I was super dedicated, and that was everything to me. It was like, like I put everything into it, and that was the wrong journey, because what I learned out of that was you have to have energy balance. And I pushed relationships aside, pushed family aside, pushed business aside. I just became stupid, essentially. And I was just all focused in one area of my life. And at that point, I had a huge epiphany that like there's more to life than just being all in on one aspect. And I missed out on the relationships, missed out on the business, and I needed to build those areas of my life up. But health and fitness for me was like, you can't give up on that, because I know what happens when I do, and I don't go down a good road. So there has to be a way of keeping fit, but not putting so much time in that I'm not achieving greatness in the other areas. So it's a case of being dedicated, turning up, putting in a little bit of work into myself as non-negotiables, because there are a lot of benefits, especially in my life. It doesn't have to be for everyone else, but in my life, as long as I put a little bit of time into myself, I'm lifting weights, I'm running miles, just a broad spectrum of fitness, then I can apply that and have more energy, have more focus, have more clarity, have more motivation, to kind of do the work and rebuild those other areas of my life, which is kind of where I'm at right now. So I'm trying to rebuild and create as many relationships as possible. Also build my business as well, which is new, and there's a lot more learning in that. So yeah.
Hey Josh, could you please explain to me what the athlete's journey is, and knowing what you know now, why do you think it was the wrong path to go down?
Yeah, I mean, at the time it wasn't wrong. There's a lot of learning in it, and you have to know yourself to grow yourself. But as you get older, you can't compete at these levels. I wish age wasn't just a number, because it's actually, a reality check, and you have to recover more and more and more, and you end up putting more and more time in, more and more recovery aids. But what you get out of it is you get more experience, more wisdom. You have to understand, you have to move well, just to keep your skin in the game, but at a cost. And I always said that for every level, there's another devil. And the devil was that I was just throwing more time, more energy, more money into hoping this athlete would continue to his dream or in his goal of maybe achieving, getting into the CrossFit Games, for example. But there had to become a point where I was like, everything else around me was just falling apart. And so the athlete journey, it's still going, but it had to take the goalposts from one place and put them into another. And that was it.
Yeah, I know from speaking with you before, you have a very clear view about pillars that people need, that men need to have, or people need to have. So talk to us a little bit about how you view that, the pillars that you think need to be there, and what you see as the mistakes that the younger guys are making, because you obviously went on a journey and discovered and worked out some of these things through trial and error and going through, and you gain a lot of wisdom now. So talk to us a little bit about those things, because I think that would be super valuable for any young guys who are listening.
So what was the question exactly?
Around the pillars that you talk about having balance in, and what mistakes you see the younger guys, younger generation making.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so off the back of all my learning, I formulated the 4 pillars of performance, and basically that's lifestyle, mindset, training, and nutrition in order to get the result. Now, again, everyone's different. Everyone is a different place, a different experience level. They've got different priorities, family, work, multiple businesses. So what that looks like is different from person to person, which is why I create personalized programs to help people regain control with fitness. And that then should complement whatever else they've got going on in their life, so they don't have to make the mistake that I did previously. And so literally going into it, lifestyle will be looking at someone's structure, again, their commitments, how are they sleeping, where does that all fit in, how much time do they have to give within their fitness, so that they can actually complement those other areas of life. Now, once you've formulated that, you've got to attach it with a goal. How long is it going to take for him to go from here to here with all these commitments and achieve this goal? And from there, you would build out the accountability side of things, which is your mindset. and then you would look into their nutrition and their training and so on. And then you would obviously formulate a game plan or a personalized plan that would help them get to there. Now, for the young people, I think when you're young, you lack skill and experience, and I think a great place to build yourself as a man is in the gym, lifting weights, growing yourself, pushing yourself to failure, understanding your body a lot more. And the body and the mind are both connected. So the stronger you become physically, I believe the stronger you become mentally. And I think having a strong mindset, especially at a young age, can have a huge return on investment, especially when you have the network, you have knowledge around you, support to maybe build a business and, generate income and have that freedom as well to move around. I think it's,
What would you say, like, because there's a lot of people who maybe like see the pathway for that or like are convinced in like what you're saying, but maybe they're like not able to break through those rugby tackles and like keep running, right? Like in your same way. So like, what would you say to people who are like in that mode? Because I think it's quite common, right? Like people, you've made some pretty significant steps. You like, okay, I left the UK, like moved to Bali. I tried Portugal, set up an online business, like moved out of 9 to 5. I'm sure there's like lots of people that would like to do the same, or, but like they get stuck or they, so how like, what would you say to them about like how to break through and push through to like make those changes? Because, you've done something that, they're big moves, right?
Yeah. I mean, those big moves don't always work out. You're not always going to succeed. I think that's it. I've always taken risk, and I've always, over time, I've become smarter with risk. I've calculated that risk in. Like when you're younger, you should take risk, and then you should learn from it because it's likely that you're going to fail. But as you keep on taking the risk and you understand it a little bit more and how to mitigate the loss or the losses, like eventually it pays off. And it's the same thing as always applied for me and my understanding of training. It's like, I don't know how to do a squat. I'm going to keep learning. I'm going to keep warming up properly and efficiently and just build and build and build. And over time, you get strong. And it's that same mindset that it might not work out straight away, but take the risk, start doing the work, and eventually you'll be rewarded with the outcome that you want. But I think the biggest thing that I see is people too scared to take the risk, and when they do take it, they don't learn from it, and they then don't re-strategize and then go again. You've got to keep moving forward.
Yeah, keep moving forward, and talk to us a little bit about like you're obviously like with your fitness and your work there, like you're obviously providing a lot of value, but a lot of like wisdom and like guidance, right? Because you're coaching and working people through programs. Like, talk to us a little bit about the mindset of like having someone, like bringing someone in to do that, like surrounding yourself, because I know we've talked about it before, but a lot of people just try and figure out everything on their own, or rather than get in someone who can provide help or advice or coaching to improve them. And I know you're doing that on not just the fitness front, but with building your business. So talk to us a little bit about that, because not everybody has the inclination to do that. A lot of people are like, I'm just going to figure it out by myself and like stay narrowed down. And you seem to have this like very different approach to like, I'm going to surround myself with experts and with and be an expert for other people. So I find that like quite unique. So talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, sometimes like laying down your sword and just like, you just got to listen. Like, so this, like you said there, you can't know everything. So sometimes it pays to just shut up and listen and just like absorb the information you need to, and only speak on the things you actually have experience with. And because if you don't, you're not actually providing value. It's the opposite, and it's infectious when people like give false information, misinformation, like and not like an experience that they have. It's for me, I like to listen and learn from people and understand their story and take what I can and give what I can as well. And that's pretty much it. I mean,
yeah, do you see that like a lot in the fitness space? Because obviously it's a very can be a very visually, aesthetically, dominated high sales like type of area, but like your background is in, you've got extreme competence in essentially multidisciplinary elements of fitness. So how do you see that playing out in the fitness industry? You spoke about like obviously speaking on things that you're actually an expert in, and how do you see that in that industry, like in the landscape there?
Are you referring to some people who aren't experienced?
Yeah, like I'm sure you see both sides of it, right? Like people who are speaking on things that they're not necessarily an expert in, people searching for, trying to get good advice, good counsel. And what strikes me is you've got high levels of competency and expertise in, because of the different disciplines that you've been in. So like what's your observation and perspective on that, like being in the fitness space?
It's like anything online, whatever's controversial, whatever's drawing emotion, it's whoever's got the attention, whether it's good or bad, tends to, well, like I said, just get to the most attention. So if someone's got the experience, and like myself, and you can talk on multiple topics, sports, like people might not listen. They might listen to someone else who is more controversial and saying the wrong things. And it is a mess, like in certain areas, and there is a lot of misinformation out there. But that's the game. Like, don't hate the game. Just stay in your own lane. Talk about the things you understand and you know about, and don't spout misinformation. Like, I mean, that's just the way I think. And if people want to follow people who don't know what they're talking about, then that's up to them. But it will come at a cost, because if they use that information, then it's going to, what I think is, you're not going to get to where you want to be. Like, so it's your responsibility to find the right information. Well, you're never going to find it unless you try it and then figure out and go, all right, yeah, that was the wrong stuff.
Yeah.
So we're going to go back to that guy again. I'll move on and I'll find, something different. But yeah.
On that topic,
go ahead.
On that topic, I've seen and mentored people myself who are asking how to achieve working without walls and leaving the 9 to 5. And what I've been seeing is, unfortunately, some people get to a point where I can see they're about to reach another level of success, but because of their lack of experience, they stop and they never experience the next step that they would have if they kept going. To help those people in those sorts of mindset, Josh, could you please explain maybe when you were going from one level to the next, or as you were leveling up, what that looked like? So when you, just before you hit a level or, broke free of the 9 to 5, what does that look like? Because I see so many people giving up early because they don't realize they're about to hit the gold. And I just would like your experience in what you felt and you experienced at the time just prior to a breakthrough.
Yeah. Okay. So obviously in the mentorship side of things, like that worked well for me, and it built to, well, a lot of people knew me in my network. We're talking about social media here. And obviously when I switched from athlete to coach, people were like, oh, wow, he's a coach. I'm going to go for this because he's going to know a thing or two. I've known Josh for a while. I know he's been serious about X, Y, Z. But then after that, it becomes a game of, for me, was you've got to find a way to trigger the algorithm to bring more people into you and find you. And then you're on this next journey in business where you've got to kind of leverage the platform, find new people, create new conversations, find more information. And it's like a huge kind of warpath just to kind of keep building the business. Like, you can't rely on people who know you to come to you. You've got to go to people and offer value. And that was the huge lesson for me, and the big scary jump, because I thought, like, straight away I was like, oh, this is easy. I've just told everyone that I'm now a coach. Everyone's coming to me, sit back like this in my underpants. And I was like, after a while, like, that wasn't the case. Like, I had to really like belt up and start to find new people who would benefit from my service, and, you know, offer free value and help them out, and not be about me anymore, be about other people. And that was like a huge jump. And that, once I figured that out, then I like pushed through that kind of limit and then on to the next. And it's literally, for me, like, I'm always coming against new problems, but I have that mindset of like, great, I've got a new problem, which it means that I've reached a new level, I've reached a new height, I'm pushing that bar higher again. And whenever I don't understand something, like, I'll plug into a network and I'll try and find someone who is where I'm trying to get to. And again, try and offer them some value that they might not already have, in exchange for some value that I might need to get through this next part.
And while you were reaching for those new levels, at any point, did you know how long it would take to reach your goals? So I'm assuming that you would have had time frames set, like, I'm going to achieve the goal by this date. But in that point in time, while you were in it, breaking through those barriers, did you know how long it was going to take?
No, and I don't put time frames on things too much. Again, from a training background, it's that delayed gratification. I just kind of like do the work, and then if it pays off, I'm like, great, but I'm still doing the work. And I don't know how long this is going to take. And it's almost like I'm dedicated till the day I die to pull this off and make this a success, and make sure that it doesn't go down the Swanee. So, like, literally, some days I'm prepared to like not sleep just to make sure things are done. And if that means that 48 hours, 72 hours, I worked in industry, I was working night shifts. I've worked through those times where I've had to do back-to-back shifts, no sleep, in the snow, in the sleet. Like, for me, it's normal. So some days I'm going to have to be like that. Some days I'm not. Time frame wise, I don't think too far ahead, because I don't like to be in those situations. I just deal with it as it comes. Maybe think a few days, weeks ahead, just so I'm being a bit proactive and I'm not being reactive as such. But long distance goals, a bit foggy.
Thanks for that, brother. I really wanted to flesh that particular point out, is because I've seen people stop, and people need to understand that when they're in it, they don't know how much longer it's going to be, and the only way they'll ever make it is if they keep going. Because if they stop, the only certainty is there is a 100% chance they're not going to make it.
Yeah, I think the alternative. My dad used to say, like, what's the alternative to working hard? Like, giving up. He's like, you're in Evans, you're not doing that. I was like, yeah,
I
true.
love that.
Yeah,
love that.
I was like, true. Like, I'm not gonna like not do the work just because I don't feel like it, and it's getting tough. Like, tomorrow might be a big payday. Do I really want to give up now, or do I want to stop and then have nothing? So I think it's just like dancing in the rain. Like, I just enjoy it. Like, even if it sucks, like, just laugh at it. And this again, like, stems back to like me doing Ironman and like a triathlon training and being in the middle of a lake and just being like, what the hell am I doing? It's like, nah, just love it. Love the moment. Like,
what are you going to do? What are you going to do? I think that's a good example. If you can replicate that mentally, like you're in the middle of a lake and you're in an Ironman, what are you going to do? Stop swimming? So what's going to happen? You just sink and you die. So keep stopping, I think, is the biggest injustice anyone can do with their own goals. Just expanding on what you were saying. And no, thanks for sharing that. That's great. And I think in regards to what you're saying, sharing value, that's going to be huge value to anyone that is working to, work without walls and to try and fight this cost of living crisis we're in at the moment.
Yeah, I think when you think about the totality of your story, you've like overcome so much, with losing your mom, growing up, with what you did, but then when you take into account the things that you've worked, like trained for and competed in fitness with Ironman, triathlon, CrossFit, like they are extremely testing, like physically enduring activities where you need a certain mindset to be able to compete like at that level and in those activities. And then the fact that you've applied that mindset, like, you know, over into, you know, essentially building out the totality and the, you know, holistic nature of your life, I think is quite compelling. Like, you know, people don't often like put those pieces together to keep moving forward. And that's something that I think I've seen in you is like, I'm like, bro, this guy like keeps moving forward, but like, how do you do that? Well, with a particular mentality. And, you know, you've tapped into, you know, your networks when there's like particular points, but you offer a lot of value in those networks, which is why people are, you know, willing to return that and vice versa. So, you know, that to me is all like really compelling. I know, you know, that people want to find you online. So where can they find you online? And I know you've got like an awesome retreat, you know, coming up at the end of the year, which, you know, was pretty incredible last month. So where can the people find you if they need to find you?
Just before I bought one of the last spots on that retreat.
Yeah, Jeremie's in. Big test of fitness.
Send it.
Yeah, man. Yeah. They can find me Instagram, LinkedIn, even TikTok, YouTube at Josh Evans _training. Yeah, that's it. I'm on there. Loads of details. Definitely on Instagram around the retreat and, you know, client wins, transformations, anything like you want to see. It's all on there. And yeah, I don't hold anything back. I just, you know, my backstory. If you want to know more about it, it's all on there as well.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks, brother. It's great to speak to you.
Yeah, thanks very much, Josh. Appreciate it.
Cheers, Jeremy.
Thanks.